Good morning. I'm going to be reading some more from my book, Broken but Restored, Living a Life of Trials to Triumphs. I wrote this book with the intentions of helping people to understand domestic violence situations, what is domestic violence, and how to get out of it. I just share my personal experiences, and I haven't even put all of my experiences in here. So book number 2 will be on the way, but this is off of page 131. One time, the company Henry worked for had a Christmas party at a nice country club. All the people there were extremely friendly, and we were having a very nice time. But I drank more than I should have and began to feel it. I told Henry that I was going to the bathroom. After that, I was still dizzy, and I knew I needed to lie down. I went and laid down in our car. I can't tell you how long I slept, but it must have been a while because it caused a major problem. When Henry left the party, he told me that I embarrassed him by sleeping in the car. He shouted, "How could you allow yourself to get to this point?" It went on and on. I told him it was better for me to be in the car asleep than to be inside vomiting or passing out. After we argued for a while, he wanted to drive home, but I wouldn't let him because I knew he was intoxicated. I argued that I had sobered up a little from sleeping and that I should drive, but that just made things worse. We continued to fight over driving until I tried to get out of the car, but he pulled my clothes and made me hurt myself. Then my anger erupted and I swung at him. That didn't help either. I kept trying to get out, and between all the pulling, punching, and kicking, somehow Henry ended up outside the car. I attempted to lock the doors and drive away, but I didn't succeed without him getting back in. We didn't even get out the parking lot, and the yelling and fighting continued. Finally, Henry got out and said he was going to walk home. Mind you, we were somewhere near an hour away from home, but I started to drive away. I knew it wasn't the smartest move, but at that moment, I couldn't have cared less. I thought, you hit me because I went to sleep in the car and you were embarrassed? Man, please walk home then. As I drove off, I got to thinking there was no way he was going to make that walk. It was something like 1 in the morning. I drove back around and asked him to get in the car, but he kept refusing, saying he would just walk. I told him there was no way that he was going to make it to the house from here. He barely knew the area. I was more familiar with it than he was. He eventually got in the car and we argued the entire way home. As we got close to the house, our fighting escalated. He tried to put the car in park while I was driving, and I had to slow down so we wouldn't crash. I eventually stopped the car, pulled over, and took the keys out of the ignition. Now we were arguing alongside of the highway. I couldn't believe what was happening, and I was so angry. I thought, how dare you do something like this? Are you purposely trying to kill us? He was hurting my hands trying to grab the keys, so I threw them into the middle of the highway. He tried dragging me, kicking and screaming to pick them up, and someone must have called the cops when they saw that. Thank goodness they were there. There were very few cars on the highway at that time of the morning, or we may have gotten hit by a car. When the cops showed up, they had Henry call someone he knew to come pick him up, and they drove me home. At the house, the police escorted me in to make sure Henry wasn't there, and it woke my dad. Boy, was he upset when I told him what happened. He asked where the car was, and I had to tell him that it was still on the side of the highway. It was 3 o'clock in the morning, but my dad walked out to get the car. Unfortunately, he couldn't find the keys, so he also had to walk back too. A friend of Henry's brought him home later that morning and took us to pick up the car. When we got there, we found that someone had broken into it and had stolen all the stereo equipment. That really made Henry angry. After we got the car home, I was silent for quite a while, just trying to process everything that happened. It all seemed surreal to me. I never thought we would end up fighting like that again. I was really in total disbelief. And as I was sitting here reading this story, and I have read my book, different times, For me, I didn't share everything due to fear. I was still in the relationship with my abuser as I was writing this book. And I was afraid to make him look bad, because I was trying to make him look like he was the greatest guy ever. But what I was dealing with emotionally, mentally, verbally, and physically was not okay. In the very beginning of our relationship, I watched him punch an elevator and dent it. And I couldn't understand how somebody was that angry. And because of being hit before by other men, I knew I didn't want to feel that again, but I didn't know how to walk away. And I didn't even know how to put some of these fights that we had into my book. And so, as I began to share, different details about my life, especially within my second book, it's going to be a little bit more open than this one because I'm completely free away from my abusers. And so I I plead, I ask, and I pray that my story somehow gets to people who need to hear it and say, if she can leave, I can leave. And I can be free. And I deserve love. And I deserve care. And I do not deserve to be hit. And if you're somebody who's abusing others, please find out why you're so angry. Go to therapy. Ask God, source, spirit, however, to help you get rid of this anger because you're able to change if you want to change. So, with that being said, I thank you for taking the time to listen. You can purchase your book directly from me or you can purchase it off of Amazon. All proceeds will go directly to my nonprofit organization, Broken But Restored Family Incorporated, which is going to help survivors get out of these domestic violence situations. So I thank you. I pray nothing but peace, blessings, and love for each and every one of you. Bye.